Whoa, why am I so, whoa. Hey, hello all. How's it going? Rezi Orenji here. How are y'all doing today? What's up? What's up? I thought, after last stream I had, I was kind of distracted by Sporcle. I mean, I was still chatting with you guys, but, Sporcle, was kind of hard trying to divide my attention between, a time sensitive quiz and, trying to, chat it up with you guys. Yo, no more cheese dip. How you doing, man? And how's it going, Dimebag Dave, too? I don't know if you're still here, but you left a few comments earlier that we can jump off of for sure. Doing good. That's good to hear, man. That's good to hear. Yeah, but, so you said, Dimebag Dave, earlier, you listened to Waiting for the Sun and No Remorse from the first Metallica. I love the Doors and Metallica myself. The Doors, how to say, I'm only really familiar with like their self-titled debut and LA Woman. I really do love those albums a lot, and a few other like singles or so. Waiting for the Sun, I've only heard a few songs from, but I've heard mixed things. Metallica, I love obviously their first few albums. Like their 80s period is damn solid. I think if And Justice for All had, been mixed properly, it probably would have been the best Metallica album ever made, personally speaking. But, Master of Puppets, of course, is also fantastic. Love, No Remorse. That's a fantastic song. Yeah. Today, I thought, to keep myself on track, I'd add a few stream elements. So firstly, welcome the current topic, title card. And let's see, what album are we talking about first, or artists, or what have you? What do I want to talk about? Well, I guess is obvious, since I'm making the damn video on them. I guess, I've been listening to a lot of Boston recently, but also, a lot of their contemporaries. And it's been fascinating going back and really revisiting that era of rock, the 70s and the 80s, when things were really transitioning out of that, I guess, very blues-focused proto-metal, like Led Zeppelin, Black Sabbath, Deep Purple, and even beyond that, like Uriah Heep, James Gang, all those artists like represented like their own wave in the 70s. But then you had, the rise of AOR and radio dominant rock with Boston, Kansas, REO Speedwagon, and I've been listening to a lot of that stuff in preparation for my most recent video. There's actually like a top 50 list that I've been referencing. Let me actually copy and paste that into the chat for y'all. I kind of made myself a playlist, a cheeky little playlist on Spotify, compiling all these albums together that I've just been listening off of. Of course, it features like the first 3 Boston albums, but otherwise, it's been fascinating going back and listening to bands like, REO Speedwagon, Journey, Styx even, with an open mind. I've been trying to have an open mind with this because, of course, people love to dog on these bands for being cheesy as all get out, simple stadium rock. Hey, Mina Moon, how's it going? I've been listening to a lot of AOR too. Tokyo Motor Fist has been in my constant rotation recently. I haven't heard of those guys. Let me write them down. That sounds interesting. What are they in? Are they an 80s band? Tokyo Motor Fist. That sounds like an interesting act. I love that band name at least. I mean, you know me. I love bands like fucking King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard and Psychedelic Corn Crumpets, which I am going to talk about probably later, but Tokyo Motor Fist is a super group of C. Brown from Ted Pollard from Danger to Danger, and the 90s Rainbow Rhythm set. Wow, that's interesting. It's interesting when like AOR bands are present beyond like their peak in the 70s and 80s. Like I've actually been listening to like Brad Delp and Barry Gaudreau's solo stuff, like apart from Boston recently, and like RTZ, they put out like albums in the 90s and the 2000s, but you could have just as easily like dropped those albums into the 80s, and it wouldn't sound like any different. It wouldn't sound too out of place, And it's interesting. I don't know. Because I've got the task, right? I'm kind of going to. I need to make like bonus content, obviously, for my Patreon for the Boston video, and I've been thinking of doing it by ranking the Barry Gaudreau, Brad Delp solo efforts. It's gonna be interesting trying to rate those, relatively speaking, because it's interesting talking about that sort of, I guess, 80s and the 2000s perspective. Orion the Hunter is underrated. That's it's interesting, right? Because Orion the Hunter is actually the one project I haven't really gotten a taste of yet, because it's not available on any streaming that I've noticed, at least on Spotify. I use Spotify, and I've been compiling as much material from Brad Delp and Barry Gaudreau from there as I can, but it's only been like, I think, Delp and Gaudreau and RTZ and like the first Barry Gaudreau solo album. Just corny as all get out, but bless them for the effort. I think John Boylan did a great job in production there. That list I posted in chat, though, it's got a very interesting selection of a top 10, and I want to say that I think I've got the most enjoyment from the playlist I compiled out of that top 10, because a lot of the other, I'm scrolling through it now. Let me see if there are any albums of note that I've been exposed to here. I mean, of course, it's interesting seeing like Asia listed on AOR, because I guess it was that sort of progressive crossover into an 80s like radio appeal. Asia Self-Titled got me through so many times. My favorite band. I actually saw Asia in concert. It was like a really long time ago, back in 2009. Jesus, 2009 was a long time ago. I saw them in concert, actually opening for Yes at the Tower Theater. Voice louder, please. Hold on, let me try to bump that up a little bit more. Is this any better? Sorry, I don't want to peak it too much. JW was better in King Crimson. Oh, undeniably, John Wetton was a far better bassist in King Crimson, and even in UK too. Like, if you ever go back and listen to like the first UK album, I've been hearing a few cuts from that recently. I'm a big fan of Bill Bruford's drumming, so it's interesting hearing how he sort of tacked commercial for like basically the rest of his life after the 80s. Danger Money slaps. Oh, fuck yeah. I love, you guys might have seen, I had one of my first streams as like a content creator on here. I did like a King Crimson ranking stream, and I really do love those, like, was it Mark III by then or Mark IV? Whatever the King Crimson incarnation that had like him, Bill Bruford, and Robert Fripp doing all the crazy stuff, and of course he had like David Cross and who was it, John Muir, David Muir, the guy who was doing the wacky percussion stuff on Lark's Tongues and Aspic. That stuff is fucking insane. It's probably progressive rock at its most, I don't know how to say, daring, like brutish, very I don't know. It was very modernist approach to progressive rock. And maybe I sound a bit pretentious there, bringing up classical music like that, but I don't doubt that that was going through Robert Fripp's head at the time, you know. But oh my god, like going back to this AOR list, you know, I've been hearing a few cuts from like these albums, you know, like Aviator, Midnight Madness by Night Ranger, Don't Come Easy by Takedo. Wasn't Jamie Muir the guy who convinced John Anderson to become the weird spiritual weirdo that ended up defining who he's known as? I don't know too much about that, though that would be interesting to explore. I do know that Tales from Topographic Oceans, that fucking double-sided 4-song Yes album was, or rather 2 LP, like, you know, the fucking batshit, like, spiritual mystic concept album that they put out right after Close to the Edge. That I wouldn't doubt that was inspired by Jamie Muir for sure. That is a fascinating album, and I don't dislike Tales from Topographic Oceans, but it's no Close to the Edge. That much is for sure. Let me see here. I've really been fascinated going. Oh, voice is fine now. Thanks. Great. You know, I've really been fascinated recently by Freedom at Point Zero by Jefferson Starship. No, actually, what I'm more fascinated by is how many albums on this fucking 50 best AOR albums list were produced by Ron Nevison. It's interesting seeing his name pop up so many times because, you know, I recently did that podcast for the algorithms where I went back and listened to the entirety of Kiss's discography to rank it for them. And, you know, his name came up obviously as the producer of Crazy Nights, rather. And it's cool getting to see, you know, in preparation for this Boston video, how much of a pedigree he had before then, even, you know, doing stuff for Jefferson Starship, for Survivor, for Heart, even, you know, all these bands in the 80s that were just booming with reverb with that stadium radio ready sound. It was great. And you know, going back to Freedom at Point Zero, that's a cool album in its own right. I really do like, you know, Things to Come, Jane. It's rock music even. It's fucking good old fashioned rock music. A lot of these albums fucking Paradise Theater, Agent Provocateur. Well, there are a few deep cuts on Agent Provocateur rather that slap. I wouldn't say the entire album slaps. I mean, that's the one with I Want to Know What Love Is, right? I am surprised though that this list put Third Stage only at number 22. Never listened to Boston. More Than a Feeling is about the only song I know. Eric Carr was the strongest part of 80s Kiss. If they used his songs more, those albums would have had a lot more teeth to them. Heck of a singer too. You know, I fucking agree, Mina Moon. When I did that podcast with the algorithms, we what was it? We did like a segment on underrated, overrated aspects of Kiss, and the fucking thumbnail of that part on Spotify is a picture of Eric Carr, just because of how underutilized he was in the band. Also, hi Hank Bakuni and Daniel Etta. I don't know if I said you guys' names before, but glad to see y'all here. What was I gonna say? Oh yeah. Yeah, I'm surprised that this list only put Third Stage as high as it did at or as low as it did at number 22. Well, I would have expected Boston's stuff to be a lot higher. They don't even have Don't Look Back on here, do they? Wait. No, they don't even. I don't even see Don't Look Back on here. That's an omission. Little Caesar's the best song on Hot in the Shade. Peter Criss would faint if he tried playing Boomerang. Oh my fucking. Well, honestly, at that point, I feel like it's a difference of apples to oranges, you know, because Peter Criss was a more jazz-influenced R&B style drummer. Eric Carr was very much more rock and metal centric. He was pushing the band ahead. Getting them to try and listen to Metallica and Anthrax and all that stuff. It's very interesting hearing the difference in their approach. That said, I won't disagree that that Peter Criss got a lot worse as a drummer as time went on. I'm surprised, going back and listening to as much AOR as I have, how good some of the, some Journey songs are, right? Because, I've heard fucking Don't Stop Believing a million times in a million different places, and if I could never hear it again, I would be happy. There are a few other songs like that, I think, by Journey. Maybe Any Way You Want It. It's funny getting to hear that in the Lego Fortnite ads recently. Boston's Love, Life, and Hope, Corporate America, and Walk-On albums are overhated. Well, I don't disagree with you, No More Cheese Dip. I do think there are some good moments on those albums. That said, I really feel like the production it's a downgrade from the past few Boston albums, because I don't know if it's because, Tom Scholz has more control over what he's playing. He's playing more of the drum parts increasingly with every Boston album, right? And, it's still him on the console, still him trying to get the songs exactly to his ears, so drums are the worst part of those albums. Oh, fucking definitely. That said, I don't know. I feel like he's exercising an element of control over those albums that, I mean, ironically, he does give up more songwriting to his bandmates, but at the same time, I feel like just the production suffers from he's holding it back a little. Drums are the worst part of a lot of albums. Fucking agree. I mean, you guys wouldn't believe how fucking difficult it is to get a good drum sound in, any environment, let alone a recording studio. I've had a lot of negative experiences recording drums in my time as a drummer, right? And actually, I'm going in. I'm in this band, and we've rented out this studio somewhere in the city. Try and record these drums, guitar tracks, bass tracks, trying to do it all DIY, Our bassist bought like an 8-channel mixer trying to do this production on our own, and it's awesome, but it's also, scary trying to get it right. It's crazy. As a session drummer, I can tell you the worst part of showing up to work is miking the drums. Oh, fucking absolutely. Thank you for kidding. I have a family member who was somewhat famous drummer back in the days. Band was called Redbone. Oh, that's cool. I love didn't they do that, not Hooked on a Feeling. What the fucking... Come and get your love. That fucking Guardians of the Galaxy. Yeah, I love that fucking song. It'd be interesting to hear more of them, because I know that they were one of the, like, biggest, one of the earliest, like, big bands to be, like, solely Native American, something like that. Very interesting. I'd love to listen to more of their stuff. Now, I was also very surprised by fucking Vital Signs by Survivor. I think I'd heard songs like The Search Is Over or I Can't Hold Back before, but I didn't associate that with Survivor, right? Because they're the band that did fucking Eye of the Tiger, Burning Heart, all those motivational soundtrack songs in the 80s, right? For fucking action films, sports films, right? But, I didn't expect it out of them to have like such emotive balladry. It's cool, I ought to listen to more Survivor. Jimmy Jameson is the best singer. They got better once he joined. Oh, absolutely. He's got pipes for days. And once again, Ron Nevison, he produced fucking Vital Signs. That's a stellar production job on his part. Something that I'm really surprised about with the AOR list that I posted is they don't rank Boston as the best AOR album of all time, but Journey's Escape, which, it's got a few good cuts on it, but, obviously I think I think Boston is a far more better considered album. That said, Open Arms is a bop. It's an all-time banger of a power ballad. Fergie Frederiksen was originally going to sing Eye of the Tiger until Dave Bicker's voice recovered. Oh yeah, Dave Bicker, didn't he have like a bunch of nasty voice issues? That's a goddamn shame, how he left the bands, and the band went on to have even more successful hits without him. But at the same time, it's he's in the video for Eye of the Tiger. He's got that fucking beret. His image is immortalized through all of time. Anyone listen to Butch Walker's last album, Glenn? It's a great 70s throwback album. No, I don't think I have. Let me add that in my list to listen later. Interesting, yeah. Fergie's backing vocals on Eye of the Tiger album did a job doing Toto's fifth album. Oh, yeah. He was... What was it? He was the singer in Toto, that's right. I think I remember listening to Only the Children on one of those Spotify playlists. Highly recommended, especially Holy Water Hangover. Ooh, okay, that's a cool song title right there. Let me see. It's interesting. Fire of Unknown Origin by Blue Oyster Cult is a good record. Yeah, that's the one with Burnin' For You on it, right? Blue Oyster Cult are an interesting band for me. They've got a few great songs that I love, exposed to it through Rock Band, like, Transmaniacon MC, and I don't think I was exposed to Don't Fear the Reaper through Rock Band, but definitely that is stuck in my head from that. But and also Hot Rails from Hell. I remember back in the day listening on my mom's. She had like Sirius FM, and that came on this one station we listened to a bunch, and I love that song. BOC finna be releasing their final album soon. Really? That's interesting. They've been at it for a while. I wouldn't be surprised if they're thinking of hanging it up. What was I gonna say? But yeah, I don't know. Blue Oyster Cult has a few bangers, but for the most part, they're deeper cuts. I don't know. I haven't been that too wowed by. I wonder if there's like any case to be made for, especially their live stuff and how they expand it. But like, I don't know. Like, there's this one song I think that they have called Astronomy that's heralded as like a classic of theirs, and I think I listened to their studio version once, and I wasn't really that wowed by it personally. I don't know. It's interesting that they're held up as like a great like pioneer of American heavy metal. Like, not to say that they aren't or whatever, but there's also plenty of other great examples, like dating back from like 1968 of American heavy metal acts just fucking blowing the doors off, like fucking Sir Lord Baltimore, Captain Beyond, Blue Cheer, of course. You have any thoughts on 10,000 Volts by Ace Frehley, the Trickster guy you mentioned earlier, produced that album? I haven't listened to much of solo Ace Frehley. I think I talked about this a bit last stream. I remember when Anomaly came out, one of his songs came out on Rock Band, and I think I remember pretty well. It was interesting getting to hear him, do that sort of revivalist sound back then, but I haven't really been keeping up with his material since. Let me take a sip. One sec. I'm glad that he's, getting to do what he wants to do, and, hopefully sober now. He's still maintaining his sobriety, and God bless him for that. But I don't know. I haven't really been too interested to keep up with old Ace, if I'm being honest. Okay, so I think we've wrung out as much as we can from AOR so far. It's almost like a half hour in, so I guess we can move on to saving some images here. Quick. BOC for me is another generic rock band who occasionally writes a brilliant song. Yeah, I guess that's how they fall into it for me too. As I said, I love a few of their songs like Transmit Icon MC, Hot Rails to Hell, fucking Godzilla too. Me as a Godzilla fan, obviously I'm gonna be fucking hyped about that song, but otherwise it's I haven't really given too much of their deeper their deeper cuts much of a try. Let me see here. Oh. This is let me change the text here. Panchiko. No, not with the exclamation mark. I was just excited to type that out. And I actually think on my last stream somebody recommended it. I think it was 21st Century Guy. I could be mistaken, but I'll probably go back to check at some point. But somebody recommended this band to me in chat last time, and I actually did check them out. It's really fascinating, their story. I've got their Wikipedia page pulled up here, but they were originally formed back in the 90s, right, in Nottingham, England. They were this very Radiohead-inspired, chill sort of indie band, putting out music that was kind of inspired by otaku culture. It's if you go and see their debut EP, the cover art for that is very, obviously anime inspired. But they broke up at a certain point because they weren't really getting anywhere. They sort of drifted apart for a time. But then apparently the band got super noticed on 4chan's Mew, and from there they built a cult following from 2016 to 2020 when somebody reached out to the lead singer of the band, and they were like, hey, do you know that you have all these people going crazy over the few EPs that you put out back in the early 2000s? And they were like, oh shit, might as well get together again. And then they actually put out a new fucking album last year in May, and it's pretty good. I checked it out, a few tracks off of it, and it's really nice, Radiohead inspired, trip hop infused sort of. Well, I don't know if that's quite accurate. I'm not the aficionado of trip hop, but very electronica infused rock, and it's nice. Hey there, Nafal Pasaya Eldry. How you doing, man? How's it going? We're just here. We're talking about music. I'm talking about this band, Panchiko, who are fucking obscure as all hell. If you want to check out any one Tokyo Motor Fist song, I'd say it should be around midnight. Okay, I'll check that out. Got that written down. I'm doing good. That's good to hear, Naffle. Good to hear indeed. Glad you're chilling. Right, Panchiko. It's another song I'd highly recommend is Time to Count Down by TM Network. Weird fusion of J-pop and metal. It's interesting. I've been thinking recently that at some point I want to do a history of Japanese rock or metal sort of video. there's this band that I'm going to talk about later in the stream, or I hope I will. I will get to it. But, you know, I want to talk about the evolution, sort of metal as it originally came over to Japan in the forms of, like, Flower Traveling Band, Bow Wow, you know, and beyond that in the 70s into the 80s with, like, Visual K and X Japan. It's a very interesting progression. And, you know, leading in today where you've got, like, underground bands and stuff like Boris, look at me trying to talk out my ass here. I've only really heard the names of these bands. I haven't really explored them in any real depth. And, you know, that's why I kind of wanted to do a video. That give me an excuse to finally fucking plunge headfirst into Japanese metal acts. I have to bail. Great conversation. Have a great evening, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in, MPRI 666. Glad you could make it, and I hope you have a good night. Yeah, no, though, I'm telling you guys, this Panchico band, if you guys are at all into, like, Radiohead, Beatles sounds, like, very, chill, psychedelic, indie rock, that sort of thing, this band will float your boat. And their new album is really good. By MPRI 666. Sorry, kind of going on autopilot here. Let's move on, because I don't really think there's too much more to talk about these guys. They're just a fascinating little band from England that I think are finally getting their overdue recognition, which is just kind of sweet. You know, I hope that, you know, it'd be funny if, like, one of my old bands from way back in the day, like, I used to have, like, you know, like a high school, and then beyond that, you know, when I graduated from high school, I was in this band, like, this sort of garage, alternative, very Weezer-esque band. It was fascinating. Hey, Tamara Haynes, how you doing? It was a very fascinating early experience in trying to, I guess, get my artistic voice out there as part of a band, you know. It was like a power trio situation, and I had a lot of fun doing it, but, you know, we didn't really get anywhere. Of course, I went to college, and, you know, a lot more of my time was taken up there, you know, and so I left. You know, I went abroad, and they got a new drummer, and, now they're an entirely different band, but that's an entirely, other conversation, and I don't want to get into that for fear of, you know, privacy reasons. What was I gonna say? Let me, oh yeah, I've got, let me pull, you up. Oh boy, tiny. Lemon Twigs. I've been getting into the Lemon Twigs quite a bit recently. There's this other YouTuber that I watch a lot. I think it's let me find him. I'm sorry. Elliot. It's funny, I've searched him before as Elliot Beatles, because he does a bunch of Beatles videos, but no, his name is Elliot Roberts, and he does a bunch of really good videos on, like, old, I guess, Beatles-inspired music, and, well, if not just, like, the Beatles and Beach Boys directly. Love that album. It's really happy, fun, and optimistic. You know, I like it too. And like Elliot Roberts, he did this really good video on Everything Harmony that really spurred me to listen to it, just because of how focused its callbacks are, right? You know, I love rock revivalism when you do it right. You know, when your influences, when you do a good job blending them and like creating something new. Like King Gizzard does this a lot with their albums, with their influences and whatnot. So does like Rival Sons is a good example. They're very much like a cross between like Led Zeppelin, Aerosmith, maybe even a little Wolf Mother in there. Japanese metal, what's your thoughts on Loudness and Izo? I haven't given them too much of a proper listen, though I am interested in listening more to Loudness. I do know that they crossed over for a time a little bit in the United States, and it'd be interesting to see that cross section of Japanese metal in the United States at a time when there was a bit of anti-Japanese xenophobia going in the States. But yeah, no, I would be interested to, like I said, check out more Japanese metal, especially, the 80s with that sort of transition from glammy aesthetics into Visual K, right? But going back to the Lemon Twigs, though, Everything Harmony is a beautiful album. It's got a lot of, strong Beatles-esque harmonies, Beach Boys-esque even, going back to like the old sort of folksy sounds of Simon and Garfunkel. As Elliot Roberts says, they have a lot of those influences in their music. And, I've gone back and listened to a few of the Lemon Twigs' earlier stuff too. Like I think the other day when I was walking somewhere or traveling somewhere in the city, I had on a playlist like This Is the Lemon Twigs on Spotify, and it was interesting going back to listen to like their early stuff, but a lot of it was hit or miss too. Sekima was second the Japanese metal band behind Loudness in ex-Japan. Sekima the second, I don't think I've heard that before. Is that Sekima 2? Yeah, I'd definitely be interested to check them out more. It's interesting seeing how the Japanese take Western genres and sort of make them their own unique thing, right? Because I remember a few years ago getting into it through vaporwave, like city pop and like Japanese jazz fusion. I fucking love Cassiopeia and Mint Jams. That album... That album fueled many a catnip-fueled night, if that makes sense. Yeah, no, I'm sorry, I get on these tangents and I don't know how to pivot back properly. I'm working on it. I'm still a novice streamer. It's okay. Lemon Twigs, though, I definitely recommend them with thumbs up. I think they have a few, they've got a new album coming out later this year, and they've already got a few singles out from it, like My Golden Years, They Don't Seem to Fall Into Place. Very good band. I would highly recommend them. And as a stellar example of rock revivalism, too, like, I do say that I think rock music should continue pushing the bounds of what it has been before. Try and fuse with other genres that are around and try and explore all the in-betweens of various different crossovers. But at the same time, there is something to be said for going back and, embracing old sounds and doing them even better than perhaps the old masters might have thought to do, right? I've been wanting for a while to do like a video on like rock music not needing to be saved necessarily, and sort of looking at the tendency of rock journalism to look for a savior of rock, like the Arctic Monkeys or the Strokes or frickin' Royal Blood or Greta Van Fleet. I think that's a myopic way of looking at rock music personally. Sorry, let me go back look at these chats here. Second one, too, the great. The whole thing is that they're demons from hell and sent to Earth to spread the music and culture of hell. Kind of Kiss-inspired, but much heavier. Oh my gosh. Yeah. I I wish I was able to find more concrete research when I was doing the Fall of Kiss videos about Kiss's influence on like Japanese heavy metal music, because I'm sure that exists. I'm sure there are articles out there in Japanese media where these visual K bands probably like talk about like Kiss being a huge influence on their aesthetic, but I couldn't find them. I mean, obviously, you go back in Japanese culture, no is a very big part of it too. They had heightened theatrics with makeup dating all the way back to the 18th century or 17th century even, but at the same time, I don't know, I feel like Kiss and metal and theatrics and rock music is a very easy lineage to draw. I get a Please Please Me vibe from this album cover. I'll give him a spin. Yeah, definitely try him. I definitely think Lemon Twigs are, I don't know, like I said, they're better than a bunch of other sort of like saviors of rock type bands that are out there, like fucking Greta Van Fleet. I could ramble for days about Greta Van Fleet. English teacher, Harmon E. Not being able to stay for long, so I'll just spam a few more people to listen to them. English teacher, the forecast cheek face. Hey, no problem that you can't stay for long, man. I'll write those down on my list. I'm all about listening to new recommendations like this. And interesting names. Yoshiki from X Japan said seeing Kiss live was the moment he decided he would be a musician professionally. Well, see, there you go. Frickin' Kiss had such a seismic impact, not just on American rock, but rock around the world. Like, you consider how many frickin' Brazilian fans were chomping at the bit to see Kiss when they came down in 1983. It's surprising how much of a reach they had. And I mean, I feel like a lot of that has to do, with their marketable brand and how much, I guess, Gene pushed for advertising. But at the same time, it's like, it's cool how much of a reach, how much of an inspiration they had to young musicians. Yeah, I agree. While I still enjoy rock music, I feel like the genre's kind of stagnated at least. Do you listen to any folk music? I don't really listen to that much folk music. I mean, I've listened to a bit of Simon and Garfunkel here and there. What else? A bit of Bob Dylan, I guess. I don't know. I haven't really sat around to plumb into Bob Dylan's deep cuts. Kiss helped make Garth Brooks. There's no telling how far their reach is. Oh yeah, that's true. That's you forget that sometimes they put out that entire cover album with bands like Anthrax and Garth Brooks and all these different artists. Yoshiki did a classical version of Black Diamond for the Kiss My Ass tribute. Oh, that too. There you go. Freaking Kiss My Ass, bringing together all these musicians from all these different walks of life to celebrate Kiss. The first time I heard Greta Van Fleet, I thought they were a parody band like Steel. Oh my fucking god. Okay, so I remember back in college, I used to be, I still love Led Zeppelin to an extent. I was more gung-ho about them back in the day, but, I was very clear about how they were an influence on me and my drumming and, my taste in music back in college to, like, friends and colleagues and what have you. So when Greta Van Fleet came around, with their debut EP with something of the Peaceful Army or what have you, and people were hyping them up, I was just around them like, what the fuck? I mean, I didn't say it in these words. I was trying to be diplomatic. I was like, they're all right. We'll see how they sound in a few albums if they've got their own sound, that sort of thing. But I don't know if they've evolved their own. It feels like they're just trying to be Led Zeppelin still, like, And you know, we've got Led Zeppelin. We've got all those old Led Zeppelin albums, and it's a shame that, you know, their career was cut short with the tragic death of John Bonham. But at the same time, I don't know. I feel like, oh, what do you say? My brother loves Greta Van Fleet. The first album was okay, but the rest of their catalog is just mid. It's interesting, you know, going and listening, trying to listen to new Greta Van Fleet stuff. I don't know. I think the last time I tried to tune into them was Heat Above, but the fucking organ tone and the lead singer's voice just completely turned me off of it. Ugh. Let me scooch back a bit. Yeah, Greta Van Fleet just, I don't know, they never really appealed to me. And, you know, when they were all hyped up back in, I want to say it was like 2017, back in 2017, 2018 when they came around, it was just incessant, the amount of people, even like some of my best friends who are like, I appreciate their musical opinion and stuff, they were like super buying the hype of Greta Van Fleet. And I was just like, well, you know, we'll see how they evolve, we'll see how they grow. But, you know, whereas the Lemon Twigs, you know, they started off very, you know, influence on their sleeve, very Beatles and Beach Boys inspired, of course. I feel like they've blossomed into something very much their own, whereas, you know, bands like Greta Van Fleet, they're still trying to figure themselves out. But I guess we can move on from here. Speaking of nostalgic, revivalist sort of music, let's talk about the new MGMT album. Hey Rezzy, I just brought the new Steve Hackett LP, The Circus and Nightwell. Kinda proggy, sure, not overly long and bloated. It kinda rocks some places. That's interesting. You know, I haven't really listened to that much Steve Hackett or Genesis in general, I'll admit, but you know, I have been interested in checking out more of them. I'll write that down. Let me see. Good to see you, old handsaw. Glad you can stop by. Let's change the text here, because this is not the Lemon Twigs. This is MGMT. Loss of Life. I think you'd like the Killer Dwarfs. It's like if the Rush decided that prog and was a hair metal band instead. Love the Stan Tall album. Interesting. Killer Dwarfs. It's a cool band name too. Okay. Continuing onwards. Yes. So, MGMT, they've got a new album out. I listened to it, like roughly when it came out. I think it was odd, you know, I was going to work at the time, so I couldn't really fully devote my attention to it, but I have gone back and, you know, listened to a few of its deeper cuts since, and, you know, I do like it, right? I think the new MGMT album is good, but it's not, it's far from my favorite work that they've done. You know, I'm still very much a fan of that old Congratulations era sound, as well as a Little Dark Age. That was just a slapper of an 80s revivalist project. But I don't know, this one I felt like had a lot less sauce by comparison. I mean, they do have obvious 90s inspirations in some of these songs here, like Mother Nature or Bubblegum Dog, and I do love those songs quite a bit. Like, fucking, the video for Bubblegum Dog is so hilarious. Like, go check it out if you guys haven't. It's a love letter to all these sorts of 90s videos from the past. But Yeah, I feel like this album was stronger in its singles than ultimately its deeper cuts. Because I love, the songs I mentioned, as well as Dancing in Babylon and, Nothing to Declare. Those were fantastic. But then, like, People in the Streets and Nothing Changes by comparison, they build up to something beautiful, sure, but they're a lot more slow and deliberate. Which, I don't know, you might like if you're like a big, neo-psych fan in that regard. Like, I'll say it especially works on the ending title track. It's a very symphonic orchestral score. I liked a good deal of what they were going for on Loss of Life, but I wouldn't say that it was, the most exciting listening experience all the way through. Because after the singles, it kind of the energy just kind of dips. Like Freddie's song, it's cute that Goldwasser, Wingard, it's cute that they. Whose daughter was it? It was one of their daughters. They wrote a song for her, and they put it on the album, but I don't know. It kind of in the moment, it wasn't really the most sweet, evocative listening experience. Maybe I'll feel differently about this album later down the line when I've got, loved ones who passed on or who have came into my life and really affected me. And I definitely feel like this album speaks to that experience. I feel like it's a very mature look at life, and I don't know. Maybe I'm just a bit too golden retriever brain for it. I'm still very much a fan of the older MGMT. Oracular, Spectacular, Congratulations, Little Dark Age. Seriously fantastic neo-psychedelic albums all around. Man. That said, I definitely want to plunge more into MGMT in the future. I don't think I've really given the third album much of a shot. It's kind of it's one of the least inviting, and I guess I've kind of been bristled by it before, so I haven't really gone back to listen to it since. I want to revisit that now that their new album's out. I want to take a look at that, I think. Let's see, what else? Guess we can move on from here to talk about here. Let's go with Filter. Metal. Kimberly Wong, hey, how's it going? Good to see you. So I've kind of been on a bit of an, I guess, 90s alt metal kick too, but one of the bands that I'm in currently, we're very much like grunge and 90s alternative inspired. So I guess for inspiration, I've been going back to I guess Filter and who's the other band? Helmet. Oh, geez. One of my favorite bands, TNT, just reunited with their classic singer Tony Harnell. Oh, Tony, I know him. He the fucking. Did he sing the Big's theme song? So glad, because every album since he left was straight cheeks. Hi, Wesley. Thank you for inviting me here. Well, I didn't really send any invitations, but I'm glad you saw my stream and decided to click nonetheless. Oh yeah, please, if you guys are so inclined, please do click like the likes below, or maybe after the stream, comment on the VOD or whatever. Helps my channel grow in the algorithm and makes my channel more seen. Yeah. But yeah, going back to Filter, I actually remember back in the day I got into them because Hey Man, Nice Shot was in, I think, one of the Guitar Hero games. I think it was in World Tour. And that stuck with me since then. Then it was in Rock Band 3. Ted Foley from Tokyo Motor Fist did Big Song. Oh! Ted Foley was in Tokyo Motor Fist? That's cool. Ted Foley did Sonic's theme, It Doesn't Matter. Wow. Vanderhoff66 Foo. Hey, love your Kiss videos. Top notch. Thanks, man. Thank you. Glad to hear you love them. I'm glad that the Kiss videos are still getting some sort of traction, I'm surprised how many people are still saying, they're the best fucking Kiss documentaries they've seen. Not to fucking stroke my own dick or anything here, but I'm trying to be humble about it, It's a very pressuring position to be put in there, Saw Helmet in 92, right before Meantime came out. Those first few albums are brutal. Oh, that's incredible, man. I went back and listened to like some of the deep cuts on Meantime, and it's incredible, like some of the bludgeoning precision they have, in their sound there. Like Unsung, it's a great song, and I'm glad that it broke them into the mainstream like that, but the rest of the album is equally as focused. I told my brother to check the Kiss video out. He will get to them soon after his Beach Boys phase wears off. Thank you for the recommendation. Sorry. Let me take a sip of water here. Whew. Told my brother to check the Kiss videos out. He'll get to them soon after his Beach Boys phase wears off. I need to listen to more Beach Boys. I've explored like a few of their deep cuts in the past, but like there's a lot of hype around Smile, that entire project, and honest to goodness, I've just never really gone and listened to it. I've listened to Pet Sounds. Obviously Pet Sounds is a goddamn classic. I love Pet Sounds, but I just haven't really listened to it. What did I think of 10,000 Volts? I kind of said this earlier. I haven't really been keeping up too much with Ace Frehley's solo career. I don't know. I'm glad that he's doing what he's doing and that he's sober and he's continuing to tour and, make music into his old age, but I haven't really bothered to keep up with him since Anomaly, I want to say. It's because most Kiss fans can be critical while talking about Kiss. You understand the pro wrestling aspect of Kiss the best to talk about. Well, thank you. I hope to really capture that in my video. And, I know there are a lot of people out there who bristle up at the fact that, when I compare Kiss to VTubers and I say they're the sort of the same thing, right? Because, obviously there are people out there who are like, anime cat boys, they're cringe, like... It's a very sort of reactionary attitude, but but at the same time, that's what icons like these are. They're Kiss were like real people that adopted these personas to go out, elevate themselves beyond what they were doing. And now that Kiss have avatars, they be VTubers? God, I feel like I have so much to say about that, but I would need to get my thoughts coherent about that. It's just, I know they were probably inspired first by ABBA doing that, right? Having that whole virtual ABBA concert in the O2 arena, since that I think they're the ones they commissioned the company behind that to do the Kiss avatars. But at the same time, it's just. I feel like it's like it's a cynical means of perpetuating the Kiss brand beyond, however long it goes on. I don't know what the point is of keeping Kiss going in perpetuity, but Yeah, I guess Gene's gotta fund his retirement somehow, you know. If Smile came out as intended, it would have changed how music is made. Brian Wilson's solo version is the definitive version of it. Interesting. I would like to listen to more of Brian Wilson's solo music. You know, I've heard, you know, good things about it, and especially now in light of the news that unfortunately he's, you know, degrading in mental capacity. You know, I really do want to go back and do his music justice, I guess. Maybe not necessarily deep dive in his own video, but yeah, I definitely want to binge his music sometime. Kiss Sorry, you guys, if I'm, you know, getting your messages here. Kiss avatars feel dystopian. Don't know 90s rock. Fine, Kiss. My problem with the Avatar thing is it seems like there's not going to be a live component for it. Yeah, you know, that's the thing. Like, how are they really going to change things up night to night? Yeah, I feel like they just, like, they'll probably play, like, the same audio track of Paul Stanley doing, like, the same banter, right? Like, doing the same, oh, yeah, Cleveland, Ohio, how are you doing tonight? And they'll just, like, loop that every time they bring the Kiss experience to Cleveland, right? It's okay, Resi, you're trying your best. Thank you. I'm glad you appreciate it, you know? Got all these different topics, and I appreciate y'all coming in and chatting music with me, you know? It definitely makes this stream a whole lot livelier, because I've got definitely all my own topics prepped here, but, you know, I definitely love coming in and talk about what y'all are passionate about. You saw Wilson perform Pet Sounds live before the pandemic. Pretty amazing. Secret Weapon, Al Jardine. I've heard a lot of great things about Al Jardine. He just seems like the most chill, like, no drama, no bullshit guy in the Beach Boys. You know, God bless him for it. Just, like, there's so much of the Beach Boys history that it's just insane. And, oh my God. Mike Love. The less I think about Mike Love, the better. He's just one of the biggest assholes in music, in my opinion. Yeah, no, it's interesting seeing Kiss try to embrace, like, this new sort of the technology of, like, virtual performance and holograms that, you know, beforehand were only, like, seen as novelty, right? Like when you had, like, fucking Hatsune Miku and Tupac perform. Not to denigrate the goddess that is Hatsune Miku, granted, but, you know, obviously Vocaloids are more of a niche market, but now you have these more mainstream acts trying to replicate that sort of dynamic, and it's crazy. See the Kiss avatars sing Rip and Destroy. Oh my God. Kiss had the avatars use AI-generated facsimiles of their songs made in real time. That way they can dynamically respond to the crowd. Oh, I don't know how I feel about that. You know, I mean, obviously AI technology, that's a whole other can of worms in and of itself. Like, I don't know how, if a machine is going to be able to, you know, look at a crowd of people and, you know, can, like, generate, you know, real-time reactions to that sort of thing the way that a human would, the way that Paul Stanley used to fucking off the top of his head, you know, bullshit, you know? Miku actually pushes boundaries, though, and has a live band. That makes her queen to me. Oh yeah, totally. You know, I have to say, I speak out of my depth anytime I speak about Vocaloid music, J-pop music, etc. Which is ironic, you know, because I'm this anime cat boy who's very passionate about music, but I've never really explored J-pop or anime music or, like, Vocaloid or anything like that in any real depth. Congrats, Devereaux from Phantom of the Park, for making his plan succeed. Oh my God. it is crazy kind of how forward-thinking that Phantom of the Park movie was in some respects. You know, a lot of the focus on animatronics when we would have eventually, you know, this frenzy around killer animatronics in the 2010s with Five Nights at Freddy's. I'm telling you, Hanna-Barbera were visionaries. Oh my gosh. No, the Kiss avatars are ridiculous, and I hope I am able to get to 10,000 subscribers sooner rather than later, because I definitely want to give my full, unfiltered, let them have it thoughts on it. But going back to filter and 90s alt metal for a second, I've kind of been listening a bit more to, I guess, the deeper filter cuts recently, and I've been going back to Short Bus. I got into them because I listened to Hey Man, Nice Shot on, Guitar Hero World Tour. But from there, I got into Short Bus, the albums that's from, and might I say, the music video for Hey Man, Nice Shot is probably one of the most underrated, most gorgeous, most lively, aesthetic music videos ever shot for an alternative rock or metal song in any capacity, in my opinion. I just love the use of lights, the use of colored filters, and just the dynamics of it. It fits the song so well, I think. Speaking of 90s alt, how do you feel about the Sublime reunion, if at all? There's a Sublime reunion? I'm kind of out of touch with Sublime, admittedly. I thought that they'd been with that one, what was it, Sublime with Rome for some time. I haven't been following that at all. I'm very much a casual when it comes to Sublime. I know, a lot of the cuts off their big 1996 album, obviously, I smoke catnip. I know Sublime, but on the other hand, I don't really know, the deeper stuff all too well. They're getting the singer's song for Coachella. Interesting. That's... I didn't know that the singer had tried to do his own career. That's very I'd say it's like Wolfgang Van Halen sort of thing, but I don't even know if the dynamics are even like that. My gosh. It is interesting, though, the sort of trends recently of more and more 90s bands, trying to form bands to go out and play on touring circuits again. Fucking... I'm not too happy about it, but there is a Pantera reunion act going around now with Phil Anselmo and Rex Brown and none of the Abbott brothers. Phil's a fucking asshole, and I don't think he deserves to profit off the Pantera name personally, but at least the people who always wanted to see Pantera live, I guess, can get that opportunity. I love Charlie Benante and Zach Watt. I think they're the ones that are participating in it, but I don't know. Personally, I don't think I would go see the reunited Pantera. Meanwhile, Rome is still playing a Sublime with Rome till the end of the year. Very LA Guns. That's funny. I'm just joining, so apologies if it's been said, but I'm loving Idols. Check out Dancer as a good intro. Thank you, Nighttime Podcast, for tuning in, and I think I have heard of Idols before, but I haven't really checked them out in any real depth. I'll write that down. Idols... Dancer. Yeah, I'd definitely be interested to explore Idols. Speaking of iconic metal bands, this is Spinal Tap premiered 40 years ago today. Where's my wall? Oh my god. Wow, Spinal Tap. That's... I love that film. I love it so much. I love that style of mockumentary. I think, what was it? Didn't the troupe behind it also do Best in Show? That's also a really good film. I'm surprised, really, that they haven't tried to do a sort of indie band version of Spinal Tap. I know they have like a Pop Star Never Stop Never Stopping with the Lonely Island in it. That is like a whole take on like modern pop stardom, which is really good. Very underrated film. I think it came out a few, like, Jesus, 8 years ago at this point, but it's a great film. I highly recommend it if you haven't seen it. Film needs a 4K release so bad. Which one, Pop Star or Spinal Tap? I would agree with either, personally. God, it's been ages since I've seen Spinal Tap, though. I ought to give it a good spin. This chat goes to 11. I love that one scene where it's like he's fiddling around on the keyboard playing like a beautiful, like, romantic classical music piece, and then the director asks what it is, and he's like, "This one's called Lick My Love Pump." Mighty Winds played folk music. My God. It's... One sec. I may have to get up soon to go get some water. I've just run dry in my glass. Man. Shark Sandwich is just... 2-word review. Shit's... Yes, I love that. Seeing how easily you became a VTuber inspired me to become a VTuber last year, despite being 30 and oh my God! Well, I'm glad to be an inspiration for you in that regard. I'm glad you found a calling in that way. Oh my gosh, not quite sure what to say. Oh my God. You're probably a more robust, fleshed out streamer than I am at this point, to be honest. I'm over here stumbling over my words, trying to get my opinions about music unscripted, and you're over here doing Sakura Taisen gameplay. That's great, though. I'm really glad that whenever people are able to find what really drives them creatively, and really embrace that. Not really. I mean, not always for a profit incentive. If you do what you do for profit, I don't think that's inherently bad. But I do think there's something to be said for people who embrace their passions and stick through them, through thick and thin, and are willing to, do art for art's sake. For lack of a better word, I love my channel, and I know that it's not the biggest channel on YouTube. It's growing, and I love you guys. I love everybody who tunes in and supports me. But I'm fine with staying small for some time. I've got a roof over my head. I've got the bills paid. I'm just in it for trying to build community and trying to make good history. What was I gonna say? I joined a side band called the Moonagers. Music is pretty good. Vocals meh. That's awesome. I love, I don't know, there's a lot of fun in just getting to do local music without, a lot of regard for how far you end up to. I've been in a band for, I've been in 2 bands for roughly 5 years at this point, and we haven't really gotten too far. We're still playing very small venues, but I love the music that we write. I love the energy that we give off in live performances. I think it's a lot of fun playing music, even if it isn't like to the biggest crowds. There's a lot to be said about just putting yourself out there and having the evidence that says you tried regardless. I've got heaps of bootlegs out there that I've recorded, that other people have recorded of my bands, that I'm not going to direct to, obviously, because of privacy reasons, but it's fun being in a band. I hope that eventually, my efforts will get me somewhere, but If not, I always have these habits to fall back on. Two members live in California. I live in North Carolina. It's all music, email. It's all music by email and text. But that's cool too. I think I remember this one band a few years back that was really famous for having like members of all different races from across the world of all different ages called Superorganism. And I think they've slimmed down a bit since, obviously that debut album they put out, but it's just fascinating, the idea to me that, technology has evolved so much that we're able to, more easily collaborate over these mediums of, electronic communication, of, Zoom calls and what have you. Of course, Zoom can't replace the feeling of rehearsing in a room, but at the same time, it is a good... I don't know if you heard that, sorry about that. It is a good intermediary, I guess, for getting across ideas and communicating with your mates. Kiss tribute band. Oh, that's cool. I remember a few years ago opening for a Kiss tribute band in that one like the high school band I was talking about. I drove all the way up to fucking Scranton, Pennsylvania to open for this Kiss cover band, and we only played to like one guy, but the tribute band was great. They were very much rocking the Kiss makeup. But getting to play music is one of the most electric things you can possibly do, though. I agree. Even if it was to that one guy, he was into it. He was really into it, and I was glad to make his night. Superorganism, Something for Your Mind. I think that was in the TV show Legion. I'm not too familiar with that, I don't think. Best show I ever played was for 10 people in a dive bar. The right crowd can make the smallest clubs feel like we'd go. Oh, fuck yeah. No, I agree with that too. I've played shows before to like very packed, tiny venues in the past where it felt like the crowd was really feeding off my energy. They were really, responding to our musicianship. They were, really nodding their heads, kicking their feet, all that stuff. I actually sang it in the show, tribute. Yeah, it's... I love live performance, and I'm glad to continue doing it, even, well past, high school and college. Back then I used to do it, as part of, college jazz bands, choirs, what have you, and it was fun getting in front of a crowd every few months or so to show, like, the music that you'd rehearsed with a bunch of your classmates. But, at the same time, when you leave school, there's nothing really, well, I mean, I guess you can join, like, volunteer organizations and stuff. I'm sure there are, like, volunteer, like, choirs in cities or volunteer bands and stuff that I haven't really looked into, but I don't know. There's a lot more freedom on you to pursue your own music project. I mean, there's a lot more freedom in the real world in general. Jesus Christ, I'm getting old. I love these streams because it's 50% me figuring out, what I'm going to say live in the moment, and 50% me having an existential crisis live on camera. But anyways, I think I ought to get some water real quick. Actually, one second, let me read what you sent here. Mina, and the bands, and the Fox. I do. Oh, you're Eric. Bands, a lot of the 80s stuff. That's cool. I'm glad that Kiss tribute acts are still letting people, still celebrating, Eric Carr, maybe even Vinnie Vincent too, celebrating the totality of Kiss rather than just like the core four. Like I've said before, I really think it would have been a fascinating idea for them to try other waves, maybe even different bands with like different makeup designs, but maybe that's just my my idle-brained VTuber multi-wave organization thing going. Which, it's kind of unfortunate because recently a lot of VTuber agencies have been shuttering their doors. I guess VTubing isn't nearly as lucrative as it was a few short years ago, but it's unfortunate. Anyways, I think I'll be right back. I'm just gonna get some water. My cup has run dry and my throat is parching. So, be right back. Woo! I'm back. Hello, y'all. I had to take a step back due to my pregnancy, but I need to spread the word of Eric Carr since the band refused to do it at their farewell concert and stay at the Yeah, that's really interesting. I wish the band had done more to incorporate more of the ex-Kiss members, but I do understand there's a lot of bad blood between them and Ace and Peter, and that doesn't excuse them for leaving out Eric, though. Like, they really should have said something about Eric after how much he fucking contributed to the band, Just ridiculous. Utterly ridiculous. Also, yeah, congratulations on your pregnancy. I hope that that goes well and you have a beautiful baby child. Sorry, I don't know exactly. Not exactly familiar. Congratulations on the pregnancy. I hope it goes well. Seeing the static image of Resi like this while he's getting water is like seeing a loading screen. Yeah, no, I mean, it's interesting, right? Because I've had this model for a while. I think I designed this particular model back in 2022 when Vroid Studios updated. I've wanted to update it for some time, like maybe give me more tracking, like in my arms, maybe in my face somewhere, but at the same time, there is something darkly comedic about, me getting up and going to the bathroom and my avatar going completely limp, just like staring off into the screen like I'm being possessed by a demon or something. Moving back, though, I guess, to Filter. I guess to talk a bit more of them. Something interesting about Filter that I didn't know before getting back into them recently. Their lead singer, Richard Patrick, is actually the brother of Robert Patrick, the guy who played the fucking T-1000 in Terminator 2 Judgment Day. I mean, I don't know how common it is for, multiple Patricks out there to exist, but, I would have been fine just assuming that they were two completely unrelated Patricks. It's funny seeing, I guess seeing them close together. Obviously, there's the relation. Child number 7. Ooh, that's exciting. Must be a very loud house, though. Oh my god, speaking of loud house, I've absorbed a shocking amount of that cartoon by osmosis at the gym, just like casually seeing it broadcast on, like, there's this one TV that's either set to like Boomerang or Nickelodeon, and when it's on Nickelodeon, they're usually showing either like Loud House reruns or like really Loud House reruns, and I don't know beans about the Loud House because I really just tuned out of watching animation on Nickelodeon like years ago, but. At the same time, if that's all they're showing on Nickelodeon these days, I'm really upset. I mean, I guess that and SpongeBob are their big money makers, so it makes sense, but it is disappointing. I am interested to see where Filter goes from here. I think I did hear. I heard some of the recent album. Like, there's this one song they put out last year called Obliteration that's really damn good. Oh my gosh, y'all are popping off about Boomerang here. You missed out the era when Boomerang had actual rock bands create music videos. Oh my god, yeah. I miss when what was it? Megadeth showed up on Duck Dodgers. That was the coolest freaking cartoon crossover back in the day. Duck Dodgers was such a great cartoon, man. I had to stop watching Boomerang when they started putting the shows from my youth on there. I'm not old, damn it. Oh my god. Yeah, Boomerang is weird, isn't it? Like, because I feel like they've got like Tom and Jerry and like Wacky Races and all that stuff too, but you know, also they got like the new Tom and Jerry cartoon. They got like new Looney Tunes cartoons that they're showing. It's really weird, like seeing where Boomerang falls in the modern cartoon landscape. I think we've spent enough time on 90s alt metal. Suffice it to say, I really do. It really does go hard, as the children say. Let's go now. I think we can expand on this. Awesome sight. So I do apologize to y'all in advance for the topic we're about to get into. Obviously, you know, with my King Gizzard video, I understand that my audience isn't necessarily the most attuned to the modern Australian psychedelic rock scene, but I do heavily recommend a lot of the bands that I talk about with regards to, like King Gizzard, like Orb, like, you know, recently I've been listening to, you know, Pond's new single. Pond's got a new single out called Neon River that is really, really fucking good. Like, if you've listened to, well, I'm trying to pitch Pond to you. You probably never listened. Pond, you know, they used to be very heavily rock focused. You know, very psychedelic rock inspired. But, you know, they shifted more into psych pop territory, like more psychedelic electronic music in the past few years. And that's not to blast any of that music. I really do like their experimentation with synths and, you know, electronic music. But, you know, this new single, Neon River, it's such a welcome return to the old days of them just kicking down the door with, you know, their rocking choruses and their... I mean, it's interesting how far the sort of soft verse, loud chorus, soft verse dynamic has evolved over time. Because I feel like it started off in the sort of minor realm with bands like Pixies and Nirvana and like alt rock and grungy, but like now you got modern bands like, you know, the psychedelic. I don't know. I feel like you can be happy and also kick the door in too. Australia was obliterated in Gundam The Origin. Good riddance aside from AC/DC and Men at Work. I have never been a big Australia person. Place says a tree that eats people. Oh my god. You also got to watch out for the drop bears, mate. They'll really pounce on you and bite your skull. Something like that. I don't know. I've always wanted to go to Australia. You know, I've maybe not explored the wilderness in any depth, but I've wanted to go to at least like Sydney or Melbourne or some like big urban agglomeration there. Because I feel Australians, a lot of them are very good, gregarious people, it seems like to me. And I also want to try like Australian cuisine, see what they have there to eat. Steve Irwin, though, oh my gosh, R.I.P. I think I actually remember, like, when, around the time when Steve Irwin died. It was one of the earliest, like, celebrity deaths that I distinctly remember, because I was, you know, I used to grow up watching The Crocodile Hunter. You know, my parents would flip on Discovery, and he'd be there, you know, trying to tame crocs. trying to stick his finger up their bumhole, or whatever it was he did back in the day, and then, you know, suddenly fucking stingray takes his life, and it's sad and tragic. And you know, I think I did rationalize it to my dad at the time, saying, you know, at least he was out there doing what he loved. But it's still must have fucking sucked in the moment for him. Just like, you live your life trying to interact with nature, trying to do right by it, and one slip up and you're gone. It's sad, man. Tree sticks people and animals to the ground. Wait, hang on a second. I feel like you're just describing that one Vita Carnis monster. Is that a real tree? That sounds fucking terrifying. He was our generation's Mr. Rogers in a lot of ways. Yeah, no, it's really heartwarming seeing a lot of the Irwin family's photos nowadays, where you've got Bindi or what's his son, the son Irwin. I forget his name, but they're still doing like his work out there with the wilderness. It's really sweet, and I hope. Really wish the best for their continued wildlife conservation efforts. That's another thing I love too about Aussies, because their wildlife is so wild. They've just got so much of it. There's a big portion of their population that's very tuned into like environmentalism. Like I did talk about it. I feel like I talked about it a bit in my King Gizzard video, but they're very much a band that's into preaching about climate change and how that affects the environment, how that whips up fucking bushfires. That's affected their reality of life over the past however many years. Jesus. I never thought that I would experience wild bushfire smog like that, red smoke as they said, but, here New York had that massive smog cloud that swept down last year, and that was fucking insane. Doesn't Australia have those horrible ants and those giant spiders? Oh yeah, like, what is it, the camel spider, the crab spider, whatever it is, or what is it? The spider crab? Whatever it was, is like a giant arachnopod that has like all those long gangly limbs, and it's just nope. I could never see that in person. We needed a Steve Irwin to counter the effects of a Crocodile Dundee in the 80s. Yes, I guess that was Australia trying to reclaim, the wild man, and trying to, I guess, put a positive foot forward for Aussies in nature. Gotta go cook dinner for the family. May come back later, but just in case I have a good stream, keep up good work. Thank you so much, Mina, for coming along, and I'm really glad that I could help you come to be what you are today as a VTuber. That's really cool to hear about. Thank you so much for tuning in. I don't think I've actually seen Crocodile Dundee. I've heard a lot about it. I think I've seen reviews of it, but I've never actually seen the film. I've seen the South Park parody, the fucking knifey spoony thing. Only Aussie fact I know is that the koalas have a lot of chlamydia. Oh my god. I remember back in the day I used to, when I was in pools with my dad, I used to cling to him like a koala on a eucalyptus tree. That was funny to me. I don't think he liked it too much, but that was a much more innocent time. Yeah, no, Ponds, very, very good modern Aussie psych band. I definitely recommend them if you haven't checked them out yet. And from what it sounds like with their new single Neon River, it sounds like they're getting very much back into hard psych territory, which I'm looking forward to again. Speaking of hard psych, there's another band, Psychedelic Corn Crumpets. I think they put out an album just recently, a few months ago, called Franzoli. And it's decent, I like Psychedelic Corn Crumpets quite a bit, but I don't know, I feel like they've had stronger psych material. This is Franzoli's much more of a straightforward rock sort of album, and it's not bad, but just, a bit less inspired, I think. At least we got Midnight Oil in the 80s. You know, I've been meaning to listen to more of Midnight Oil. They've got a really interesting, like, lead singer, don't they? Didn't he... He was like a minister in, like, the Australian government for a time, wasn't he? Like, Minister of Culture or something like that. I'd be interested, definitely, in exploring Midnight Oil some more. Just, like, Australian post-punk in general. I feel like there's a lot of Australian punk that's just sort of gotten swept under the wayside in, like, global discussion, because, you know, a lot of it's happened in pubs. You know, a lot of it's contained to just, you know, good old Aussie pride. I have to say though, I really do. I don't know. They are or were very into their country's politics. Yeah, yeah. No, I remember reading up on that, and I think Todd and the Shadows did a video on Midnight Oil like a few years back, like for Beds Are Burning. Definitely a very interesting band. I hear them come up a lot in conversation with acts like Cold Chisel. I don't know. Don't know how accurate it is to put them in the same sentence, but I also do. I should get more into like the bands that I was exploring in the King Gizzard video. Like there are a few bands like Carson and the Dingoes and what else? Eagle Rock. Is it the band called Eagle Rock? Or 1 second. Oh no, it was Daddy Cool. Very interesting bad name, Daddy Cool. Almost like Daddy Chill. Very, very, very ahead of their times, I guess. You know, I do. Let's say. I wish Kevin Parker would be more active in the Aussie psych scene again. You know, it's disappointing that nowadays we only get a Tame Impala album every like few years or so, rather than like. Well, it seemed like it was gonna be every like 2 years or so release early in the day, back in the day with Tame Impala. I love those early Tame Impala records, like the EP's very interesting, early, fuzzy, almost cream-like sound, like Blue Cheer inspired. Then you got Innervisions, which is a lot more Beatles-focused. Then there's Lonerism, which, oh my god, it's like a Baroque psychedelic wonder house. And then Currents evolved on that with its electronic psychedelia. Slow Rush didn't really go much further than that, and you know, maybe that is why Kevin isn't. I'm cleaning my room right now, and I just just found a burned copy of Inner Speaker Lamau. Oh my god! I haven't burned music in ages. Jeez, I remember I used to have like a big collection of music on iTunes that, you know, either I burned from I uploaded from CDs that I bought, or I just straight up pirated it online. And you know, I did used to burn CDs and stuff and experiment with that, but I haven't done that in ages. But God, though, Tame Impala, I think. What more could Kevin Parker really say at this point that he hasn't already said? I'd be interested to see that, because like, I don't know if y'all have heard that one collab he did with Thundercat recently. I think it was also on a Gorillaz track too, and both of those were really solid. You know, obviously he's got his own brand at this point, and he's trying to elevate it. He's still, you know, trying to be his own producer. I think he actually produced the recent Melodies Echo Chamber record. Let me check that out. Kevin Parker, musician. There's a lot of Kevin Parkers. Hold on a second. Let me read you out the disambiguation page for Kevin Parker. There's an Aussie footballer born in 1943. There's an Aussie footballer born in 1945. There's an English footballer born in 1979. And then there are a few politicians. Then there's Kevin Parker, the musician. That's so many fucking Kevin Parkers. Thundercat slams so hard. Discovered him via his Gorillaz collab. Love his vibe. Oh my god, yeah. I love Thundercat too. He's such a versatile musician. Like, he played bass in Suicidal Tendencies. That was one of his earliest, like, big breaks, was playing bass for Suicidal Tendencies. And then he just started making a bunch of chilled out, like, funk music, where he's basically he's a virtuoso on bass. Like, I don't think I've ever heard somebody so uniquely skilled on a bass, at least since Les Claypool or maybe fucking Jaco Pastorius or something like that. And it was great hearing him get to collab with Kevin Parker. You know, he very solid bass melodies combined with his sense of harmony and Kevin's sense of harmony. It was the perfect blend. It was like honey and peanut butter, how to say. I was gonna check out what has Kevin produced? Okay, yeah, that's what it was. It was under the Tame Impala discography page. There was right, he's produced most of Pond's records, that much is clear. And he produced Melody's Echo Chamber's latest record. I haven't, or rather, a compilation of her. Man, yeah, it goes to show I haven't really listened to Melody's Echo Chamber in a while. I want to see what she's done since that one album she did back in the day when she was dating Kevin. And there's a lot of great Aussie psych music, though. I hear a lot about Dolewave, and I think there's Courtney Barnett. I've heard a few of her tunes. She's got a very good vibe to her, I think. But I haven't really explored her too much more in depth other than that. There's Midnight Juggernauts that I talked a bit about in my King Gizzard video. But they haven't done jack shit since 2013, it seems like. Yeah, let me check. Midnight Juggernauts, Australian band. Yeah, no, I mean, it says they sort of disbanded back in 2014 here. Or rather, and no statements or clarifications on the band's activity have been released. That's fucking unfortunate. I love some of their songs, you know. They have some bonkers music videos too, like for Uncanny Valley. I think it was that one song. What was it, Memoriam? Yeah, it was like a video of like going back to the early days of the history of 3D animation and showing the evolution of that. That was super cool to see, I think. You know, getting a band's... I don't know. I have all these trains of thought, then my thought slips away. Let me see, what else is there? Brilliant rock. Let's see. Yeah, okay, no, honestly, I think I've run the course on this topic. So I think I'll move on to the final written topic that I've got down here today, and probably call it a stream in 15 minutes or so. I didn't eat dinner before this actually. I've come right from the gym. Actually, I went to the gym a few hours ago rather, and kind of been doing this stream on an empty stomach. Maybe that wasn't wise of me, but I didn't want to burp in y'all's ears. Like, it's a nasty thing that happens to me, right? Like, I eat before stream to try and feel energized, but then, I end up being gross and sounding gross, and y'all don't want to hear that. But, anyways, moving on. Let's talk a bit more about Japanese metal and Bow Wow. Wrong. Give me all the gross, lol. Oh my god. Burnout Media, what are you into? Yeah, so I've been listening a lot more recently to Bow Wow. They're this, early Japanese heavy metal band that I think opened for Kiss and Aerosmith actually back in the day when those bands toured Japan. And, like, Jesus, these guys, I feel like they're really ahead of their time. Like, their guitarist, what's his name? Matsuhiro Saito. He's really, really good. Like, very tappy, very shreddy, very nice style of playing. Very riff heavy, too. Of course, you've got some great vocals from Kyoji Yamamoto just delivering all of these, I don't know, like, it's interesting whenever, wait, when is this? You don't have the time or platform to me to get into that, friend. Oh my god. It's interesting, like, going back and listening to Japanese metal, right? Because sometimes, they'll sing songs, like, in English, trying their best to be, like, very crossover in their appeal, but then also they'll have a bunch of, Japanese lyrics, too, in some of their songs. And I have to wonder, I wonder how much that's decreased or increased in the years since then. Like, if there's still considerable crossover between the Japanese market and the English market in terms of lyricism. I remember, like, back in the day, I think X-Japan, there was a song from them released on Rock Band 2 because I think it was on, like, the Saw soundtrack or whatever, or they were playing a festival or whatever, and it was really fun and sung in English and stuff, but God, this just goes to show how much I want to plunge headfirst into Japanese media, like Japanese metal in particular, but it's difficult to talk about, right? Because I'm a native English speaker. I don't really have any skill in Japanese, other than what I've picked up casually from anime. Probably depends on the flow of the melody. Maybe some phrases just come out better in English or vice versa. Well, it's English. Well, it's interesting though, right? Because, like, when they're singing their English stanzas, I don't think they're too concerned about metrics or rhyme. Like Bow Wow, for instance, like, they have a song, James in My Casket, that's like a tribute to Jimi Hendrix. James in My Casket. It doesn't rhyme. It's poetic, but it doesn't rhyme. It's like, hey Joe, have you ever heard this play? Strum the guitar, as some have seen him, make his burning desire real. Every time I listen to his band in a room full of mirrors, purple haze surrounds me, and they'll take me to Electric Ladyland. I went down a Ningen Isu rabbit hole a while back. Three-piece band, great guitarist Shinji Wajima actually uses a thermic instead of a whammy bar. Theremin. Interesting. I'll have to write that down. Ningen Isu. There's a lot of Japanese metal that I want to look into. I think one of my followers the other day suggested something to me on Twitter. I think it was Wayne Stokely, drummer of, I think, Lillian Axe, funny enough, he suggested to me a few bands, like from like back in the 70s and 80s, I think. Anthem, Cooney, Earthshaker, 48 Crash, Azo. Oh, I think one of you guys actually mentioned Azo earlier in the chat. Concerto Moon, and on and on and on. Like, there's a lot of that I could dive into, but yeah, there's the barrier of me not being like a Japanese speaker at all, and like I would have to do a lot of research that would involve me translating stuff that I don't think has ever probably been translated into English, which would involve, either me using DeepL or some other like AI translation software if possible, or otherwise like otherwise offloading it onto freaking what do you call it? Friends who do know Japanese, like trying to like pay them for their services. So I don't know. That would be a very involved process further down the line. I would definitely need a lot more patron subs before that point. Let me see. Bow Wow though, I'm really impressed. Oh, Maximum the Hormone is the only Japanese metal band I know, and I only know them because of the Frieza song. Oh yeah, the Frieza, that thing. Yeah, I remember that. And Bow Wow's really interesting. They had quite the trajectory. Like, they became a completely different band at one point. Even like in the 80s, they were Bow Wow, like VOW Wow. And they had freaking Neil Murray from Whitesnake in the band at one point. There's only so much time in the day, though. I've only explored like a few of their albums. Like, their first 3 are on Spotify. I highly recommend them. It's Bow Wow, Signal Fire, and Charge. Recommend Shinseinen, Heartless Seat. Interesting. Shinseinen. Japanese metal is really fun. Like, it's interesting. I think Lars Ulrich took some inspiration from Signal Fire too. Like, Metallica might have at one point, I think they were considering covering a song from Signal Fire, but I don't know if they ever went through with it. It's a shame. I think more Western bands should cover like Eastern like metal bands, have that sort of cross-pollination going on, I'd okay if that metal, but there was a great Japanese band called Beat Crusaders that are real Sum 41 with fuzzier guitars vibe. Interesting. Yeah, there's a lot of Japanese alternative too that I want to get into. There was this one psychedelic band I think that I was turned on to recently through like a Facebook psychedelic rock album competition or whatever. Like the Pillows, I think they were. Pillows? Yeah, they're like a Japanese old alternative rock band that apparently had like a fantastic album that they went out on, or the a certain lead singer went out on, and it's like a cult classic. What is it? Please, Mr. Lossman. Not what is the? Hang on a second. I feel like I'm getting 2 bands confused. I'm sorry. My head is just completely blowing up at the seams trying to pull all these Japanese bands together. Oh, it's the Fishmans. That's the band I was thinking of. Long Season by the Fishmans. Yes. That's an album that's trippy as all hell. Though that isn't really Japanese metal necessarily. I do think it's interesting whenever Japanese people Sorry, my head is running at 1,000,000 miles per hour. Like I said, I really do like seeing how Japanese people reinterpret Western genres and how it comes out. It's this unique blend, I guess, of Japanese sensibility with whatever sound was there before, right? I don't know. I feel like I'm rambling, but there's something there with like genres like city pop and J-metal and like bands like Bow Wow, who are so closely like, I feel like you could take songs like James in My Casket and easily transplant them into like Sad Wings of Destiny by Judas Priest, for instance. Like, it's a very similar sound, but at the same time very distinct at the same... Jesus Christ, I'm getting a point of redundancy here. Oi! Take a sip. All that is to say, I highly recommend Bow Wow. I think that they've piqued my interest in wanting to explore, I guess, Japanese metal further, seeing how it evolved from here, how it incorporated more influences from the 80s, from the 90s. Like, is there a Japanese thrash scene? I fucking wonder. That would be cool. Like, Japanese thrash metal. It was interesting, though, in particular, like, the one Bow Wow album that I really clicked with, Hard Dog. they have an album called Hard Dog, which is a very weird weird name for a metal album, but at the same time, it does go hard. I mean, it is a hard dog, but it's got some really good tracks on it. Like, I think the opening Fugitive is like a killer Iron Maiden-like sort of song. It's great. I highly recommend that. Ugh. Okay, honestly, I feel like we're reaching a good stopping point here in the stream. I'm kind of reaching the point where all my energy reserves are plummeting to 0, and I need to go make dinner as soon as possible and bring them back up to 100% while watching my favorite comfort streamers and or favorite video essayists. You know the drill. You guys probably know the feeling of having at the end of a long day of trying to do something fun or important to you. Oh yeah, you got some food and rest, Rezzy. Thanks for keeping me company at work. Thank you, Burnout, for tuning in all this time. I'm glad I could accompany y'all as you're doing your work. I know that's something I like to do too at work. Is like, I like to have streamers on in the background as I'm doing all these tedious little tasks. That's always fun. Anyways, though, yes, I think I'm going to head out. I think we're going to eat. I'm going to feast. I'm going to recharge on energy. And I'm going to continue to work on the Boston video. I'm hoping to get that out, sometime either in March or early April. I'm steadily working at it. Fortunately, I haven't really recorded voiceover for it in a while, not since the weekend, but I have been, continuing to save resources, video, images, all that stuff. Oh, there's a great Japanese band called SOB. Their debut album is Simply Swindle. I'll write that one down. Japanese band called SOB. Okay. Thank you for the stream. Hang in there, Rezzy. Yeah, okay. I know the Boston video is going to great, and that more than feeling. Have a great meal and good night. Yes, thank you all so much once again for coming. I promise that I'll try not to have you guys waiting too long. I know my last video went for ages. It took ages to come together, and only a few of you ended up seeing it either because the algorithm or personal choice, which, if it's the latter, I don't judge, but I'm trying to remain in the algorithm's good graces, which, speaking of, remember to like the video, remember to comment below if you're so inclined, and, yeah, I hope to see you guys soon. Hopefully next week I'll have another stream, all these streams I'm continuing to practice for my upcoming Internet Archive charity stream, which hopefully will be happening middle of the month. I still got to hammer a few details down for that, but otherwise it's it's going. It's progressing, and things are happening. Big things are coming, and I hope you guys are excited for it as much as I am. Anyways, let's look for somewhere to load y'all off. Because I want... Hold on a second. So I want to say hi to some of my friends, if they're around. I don't know if any of them are around. Details. We are going to raid into... God damn, where's the raid? Oh, here we go. Redirect. Let's see here. There's no one really here to redirect, I guess. It's okay. I hope you guys have a good night, and, I hope you all have a good dinner, good rest with relaxation with your loved ones or with yourself. And I will see y'all next time. Bye-bye!